This is the Talk is Cheap podcast. We're breaking down week 4 in the NFL. We've got big injury in Seattle, news on Le'Veon Bell's return to Pittsburgh, and did the refs cost Cleveland the game? I'm your host, Justin Hayes, and back with me, Skylar the Ghostbuster Kerwetsky.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, man, not much here. Just happy to have you back, man.
I'm happy to be back, man. In lieu of Le'Veon Bell, I decided to sign my franchise tag.
Hey, about time, man. Speaking of Le'Veon Bell, coming back, I'm sure Pittsburgh's happy to hear it.
I'm sure Pittsburgh's happy to hear it, too. Just like you guys were happy I'm coming back. Just kidding. Tyler did a really good job.
Oh, yeah. It was a fantastic show, and it was
really a joy listening to.
Yeah, it really turned out really well, but to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh did all right. I mean, they did okay. I mean, I like their passing game in this ball game, but Ben Roethlisberger looks like he's aging.
Yeah. Well, I think they're hurting without that Le'Veon Bell. I think we were wrong early in the season that James Conner was going to be able to hold his own.
He's not.
He went 9 for 19.
How many catches did he have? He had 7 targets, but only 3 catches. He's not even really a threat in the passing game.
Yeah, like Le'Veon would come down with a lot of those, and Pittsburgh ended up losing this one, 26-14.
Yeah, against the division leader, Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, Baltimore sneaking in there, pretty low key, 3-1. They're tied with the
Bengals.
Bengals, yeah.
They're tied with the Bengals at 3-1. Bengals are looking good too, but these Ravens are sneaky good, man.
Yeah, what I say about Joe Flacco, when it comes contract season, he's willing to put up some numbers.
And he outdueled Big Ben. I mean, this has been his issue throughout his whole career, outdueling, the top quarterback in his league. He had 363 yards compared to Big Ben's 275.
Right, and 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's big. Ben threw 1 in that game, threw 1 touchdown, but definitely outdueled him.
Nobody could really run the ball in this game either. As I'm looking, Pittsburgh had 19 rushing yards, and Baltimore only had 96 and only...
Yeah, what do you think about Baltimore's committee of running backs?
I like them. They're all, they're basically all the same running back, though.
Yeah.
None of them's like pass catcher. I mean, Alex Collins, if any, is the pass catcher here, but really they're just kind of power backs.
How about fantasy advice? You got any for those 2 running backs? I actually... Recently in my league, I saw that one of them actually both of them were in the waiver wire.
I think if you're going to pick one up, you got to pick them both up.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can just live by picking, live by one, because their committee. It's kind of like the New England stable. They pick one every week that they decide, nobody knows who they're going to run with, and that's who they do it.
Yeah.
Buck Allen's a smaller back. He's not a small back in general, just a smaller back than Alex Collins, and Alex Collins is that big bruiser, and, honestly, the Steelers need that big bruiser back. Yeah. I know we keep hammering home on this Le'Veon Bell stuff, but it's rough. They need Le'Veon Bell back, and I think Le'Veon understands that, and it sounded like from what he said, he's ready to commit to the team, not just for himself. After you saw what happened to Earl Thomas and what happened to Jimmy Garoppolo tearing their ACLs, you know how detrimental that would have been to Le'Veon Bell, especially a running back. That would have been 2 or 3 torn ACLs, and he's 27 years old.
Yeah, and he's looking to sign that long-term deal.
Steelers Nation, you can't be mad at the guy.
So he's coming back week 7?
Week 7's their bye week, so it'll give him a week to get acclimated to the playbook. I'm sure, they usually go on vacation, players and stuff like that in the middle of the week, but I'm sure Pittsburgh's going to try to get him to – he's been on vacation this whole time, so they're going to try to get him in the room.
He's been on the couch, man. He's been watching from at home, and I'm sure he was liking what he's seeing. He might get a big paycheck seeing that James Conner's not succeeding the same type of way.
Yeah, but my problem is for all players. I know they're worth their money. They deserve their money. This isn't what this podcast is about. But for franchises, you can't pay a running back $18, $19 million.
That's going to be the hard part.
How are you going to, you're paying Antonio Brown. Big Ben's going to be gone, but, if Mason Rudolph is your answer, you're going to have to pay him in 3 years because he was a 3rd-round pick or a 2nd-round pick.
He's a second. He's a 2nd-round pick.
So you're going to have to pay him in 3 years.
Yeah, and they kind of got to pick their destiny. They got to decide, are they going to be a running football team or a passing football team? Their defense is struggling right now. They don't have unlimited salary cap.
Yeah, you don't. In the NFL, your salary cap's limited.
And their defense isn't looking as good as it once was, and it's actually looking pretty rough.
Running backs help defenses too.
Yeah. But when you have arguably one of the best, probably the best receiver in the league, it's tough to get rid of a receiver for a running back that might only last till he's 30, 31 years old.
Yeah, but same with Antonio Brown, being a littler guy, relying on his speed and his route running. Route running will never fade, but his quick feet will, and he's 30 years old now. So I think you got to pick Le'Veon Bell running, because a wide receiver does not help your defense. It helps your quarterback for sure. Yeah. But the running game helps your quarterback and it helps your defense. We saw with the Cowboys, their defense was looking a little rough. It was still looking good. But when Zeke ran the ball, what was that, like 30 times? That defense looked stellar. Yeah. Because they're not on the field. You're giving them rest because running back.
It helps a lot. But here's, kind of the counter to that point. You said his quick feet might go away, but his hands aren't gonna, and you're also looking at his route running. How about a comparison to, say, like a Larry Fitzgerald?
I like the comparison because that's what Larry was always good at. But remember, Larry Fitzgerald's 6'3".
Okay.
I hate to hate on Antonio Brown because he's 5'11", but I feel the same thing about OBJ. And OBJ, is my favorite player in the league.
It's kind of an athletic-driven possession catch.
Like Julio, he's not as fast as he used to be, but do you see a slowdown? Maybe in stats, but we're going to count that to offensive coordinator and all that. But it's like Julio looks just as good as he did, 7 years ago.
Yeah, you can't teach height. You can't do that.
So, like with DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones, that's even Randy Moss. If you look through history, all the good wide receivers were usually tall. Like Megatron. I mean, he's a freak of nature, but I'm just giving a modern example.
Yeah.
Even though Antonio Brown has, he's in the top 10 in catches, top 10 in yards, he's going to go down in history as one of the best receivers. But I see a steep decline after this year.
Well, talking about steep declines and players reaching towards the later stages of their careers, and injuries involved too. What do you make of this Earl Thomas thing in Seattle?
That's exactly what I said, man. You can't pay these players all this money. They get hurt, and then they bring no benefit to your team. I mean, Earl Thomas is worth everything that he got. But my problem is, why did you sign the contract before when you thought it was, worth it?
Well, from the player's end of the deal, you've got to make it worth for yourself, and you can't just make it lucrative for while you're playing. You've got to make it lucrative to, towards the back end of your career.
Yeah, you got to make money for the end and in the beginning, but he has too many injuries. I don't think he's going to last long. I think maybe 33 he has to call it quits.
For Earl Thomas.
And he's one of the best safeties in the league by far.
So what do you think his next contract will have?
I think it'll be I think he'll sign a 4-year deal because he's going to want paid. He's going to he's not going to think that he's got 3 years left in the tank. I think it'll be around 10 to 15 million a year, especially because he's out for the season. I don't remember what the injury was, but he's out for the season.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely does not look good, and it doesn't look like he's too happy about it either. If you saw
flipping off the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you think a guy like him could land?
Honestly, Dallas Cowboys. He's from Dallas. He's going to want to end his career. Actually, he's from Texas, but he's going to want to end his career in probably the premier football team in Texas. And you guys need safety help. Jeff Heath didn't really look too hot.
Oh, no, yeah, that's definitely our point of weakness on our defense, which played pretty well. But
love Chidobe Awuzie.
Dude, he's stepping up to the plate this year, and Byron Jones only had one target to his side of the field. Chidobe played a great game. He allowed a lot of catches.
Well, when they're only targeting his side of the field.
Yeah, and on that too, Matthew Stafford was lights out. But I want to disagree to some extent about Earl Thomas. I agree that he probably made a mistake on his end of the deal fighting for the style contract he took. I believe that he's a quality player. I mean, you look how he's played this year, and he's played a great season thus far. And he's never always been a leg type of guy. He's been more of a mind type of guy and getting himself in the right position to make the right plays.
You're right. Smartest player.
So I could see him. I don't know about duration. That's maybe where we agree. But I could see him being relevant when he comes back from his injury and being a good high-end safety. And that's not because I'm a Cowboys fan fighting for him to be on my team. He stole the ball twice against the Cowboys, and And, in Seattle when we played them week 3.
Yeah, he definitely used his mind, and he's kind of the quarterback of that defense. So, really, he's
It's nice having one of those in the secondary. It really makes a difference.
I bet you if he's not tasked to be the playmaker, I think he'll be fine. Like, in your secondary, if you added him, he's just protecting the back end, making sure your young secondary is in position, making sure your young linebackers – exert Sean Lee, because we don't know if he's going to even be there, but that's another point.
He wasn't there Sunday.
Yeah, that's another point, but, I like Earl Thomas. I'm not hating on him. I think he's one of the best safeties in the league, but you're right. I don't think there's going to be a huge decline, but I think the durability is going to be an issue. If he don't go to Dallas, I really do see the Eagles signing him.
That's what I was going to say. It looked like in the Eagles versus Titans game, they lost
because of our secondary.
You're right. I saw a lot of bad plays by your safeties.
Yeah, remember we're playing without Rodney McLeod, but Malcolm Jenkins played a good game. Honestly, statistically and everything, played a good game. Jalen Mills looks like trash.
Jalen Mills, the cornerback, right?
Yeah, the corner. We drafted him in like 2015 or 16. He was a 7th round pick. He's got a nice spunk to him, but he just lets up chunk plays, and that's really why we lost this game. When Marcus Mariota can throw for 344 yards.
Yeah, you're scrambling quarterback.
Scrambling quarterback. You're going to lose. Our pass rush got home. It was literally because we couldn't guard the back half of the field. Corey Davis led up a 4th and 15 where he only had to guard 5 yards to the boundary, and he let him get behind him. Mind you, Corey Davis is 33 years old and plays free safety. All I'm saying is, Earl Thomas, come play for Philly. You might make a Super Bowl.
Right. Well, it looks like you guys were able to stop him on the rushing attack. But the big plays really are what can kill you in this league.
Yeah, and refs screwing you out of game.
Oh, okay. Are you talking about the Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Cleveland game, but I'm just kidding. The refs didn't screw them out of the game.
Tell me how.
Well, they had plenty of chances to win this football game. Yes, the fumble should have been a fumble. Derek Carr fumbled the football. But Baker Mayfield turned the ball over 4 times.
Yeah, you're stabbing yourself in the foot when you give up the ball 4 times, and you also give up a lead, over 2 touchdown lead. You had plenty of opportunities to put it away, but you didn't. You had some lucky plays on offense too with, Nick Chubb only had 3 snaps in the entire game, I'm pretty sure. Ran the ball for 100 and some odd yards.
Yeah, and for 2 touchdowns.
Right.
There's no way he does that again.
Yeah, we've never been big fans of Nick Chubb, and I hear some Browns fans getting excited about that.
Well, wouldn't you be excited, man? Your team has...
You've got to be, but
you got to temper expectations here, Cleveland. Nick Chubb might be a good running back, but Carlos Hyde is a damn good running back.
Solid from the Ohio State University, but 22 attempts for 62 yards.
That's rough. That's 3 yards a carry, but they knew you were going to run it because they were locking you down in the passing game. I mean, Baker threw for almost 300 yards, but he threw 2 picks, which Antonio Callaway can be to blame for that 1 pick, but that last pick that ultimately cost you the ball game, Baker Mayfield shouldn't have thrown it.
Okay. I wouldn't hate too far on Baker. He made mistakes. He made a lot of rookie mistakes, but this is what you get for putting a rookie quarterback in week 3 and expecting him to, play like a veteran. I think minus maybe 4, 5, 6 plays, Baker had a good game, but here's what's scary. He looks like a 6-foot quarterback.
He does. He looks short. He does. Some of those throws, I don't even know how they got out.
Yeah, well, and you saw what happens when they don't. It's a fumble.
It's a fumble, or it gets knocked down easily.
Yeah, it looks scary back there. I think what Cleveland needs to do, and maybe it'd be too smart of the Cleveland organization. We say this all the time.
I don't trust Cleveland's organization whatsoever.
Right. So what if why don't they get him a little out of the pocket? I'm not saying run the guy into the ground. I'm saying do some play action stuff. You're running the ball enough times that you should be able to get some waggles or some bootlegs and get him out of the pocket. Get his confidence up there. Get the defensive line playing more contained than middle rush, and he'll be able to roll out, pass the ball, but he'll also be able to pass the ball from the pocket, from those plays where they're running contain, trying to keep him inside of the pocket.
True.
There's a lot of game planning you can do, and you look at some of the quarterbacks around the league who have made it, who are short. Russell Wilson, and
running the ball,
and Drew Brees. You've
running
got
the ball outside. I mean,
they're
on the move. You got to keep these quarterbacks on the move.
And Baker can go on the move.
Yeah, he ran a 4.8, and everyone's knocking him for his 4.8, but he looked okay. I watched him run on that fourth down, which also showed some huevos. I mean, I was proud of that, but
that was a heck of a run. It looked close, and he was so in the zone that he ran away from a tackle, out of bounds, and knew he was getting that first down.
Smart, though. That proves to the, Baker Mayfield isn't just some scrub. He's smart. He's not Big 12 quarterback that just threw the ball a million times and packed up stats. But who I do think is completely overrated is the Browns' defensive coordinator, Greg Williams.
Okay, tell me how so.
He runs 2 high safeties the whole game. They can't stop the run because, your linebackers are undersized linebackers for coverage and for rushing the passer. They
allowed a lot of big chunk plays that had to do with, I saw one in particular. It was Jordy Nelson going a streak, and then it was some sort of post or outpost route where you run out about 10 yards and then you cut towards a flag. And it just got him wide open behind the cover 2 cornerback and in between the place where you got that second high safety at. It was just executed perfectly. It was basically just them being predictable on defense.
Yeah,
that's a mistake. You can get some pass rush, that's good, but that's not enough to keep you going.
Yeah, Greg Williams just plays so predictively. He runs an outdated scheme.
Yeah, and they played well on offense for majority of
the most
opinion.
part, but the defense killed him. You didn't lose the game because of anything. You lost the game because of shoddy play calling and because you let Derek Carr throw for 430 yards.
Yeah, you can't do
that. You can't let that and expect to win, especially with a rookie quarterback going up against a veteran head coach. Even though John Gruden's been out of the game, he has had a Super Bowl winning roster and Derek Carr.
Well, and you mentioned Super Bowl winning roster then, and they let up. The Browns let the Oakland, very far from Super Bowl looking roster, do this to them. So you're stabbing yourself in the foot in a lot of these situations. But I'm saying, bottom line, get Baker involved in a different type of way. Get him, be less predictable on offense too. Like I said, run the boots, do the stuff that like you saw Dak Prescott in his rookie year do.
Yeah,
and you'll see a lot of
success. Which made him
look
really good, by the way.
Taking that. Another team that is doing this stuff, Kansas City, getting Patrick Mahomes involved, and I think you're setting up that quarterback for success. That's my personal opinion. I think he's out there playing a pretty solid game and really directing these offensive weapons around.
He is. I think Andy Reid's an excellent offensive head coach. The September thing, I was kind of wrong on because it did happen in October. Right, however, October this 1st. Is the first game. Now, I'm going to ride with this. This is the first game that Kansas City looked beatable. Mind you, Denver's defense is good. Now, they still got, Barrett, and they still have Brandon Marshall, and they still have Von Miller, one of the best pass rushers in the league. And they got corners and all that. That's besides the point. But they looked beatable, and Pat Mahomes had his first, average pedestrian game. Fourth quarter, he came out and torched them because that's what Andy Reid does. He knows how to get his offense fired up. But I'm not super sold on Mahomes. He had a good comeback, but a lot of these plays I think are overhyped because offense is fun to watch in the NFL.
Yeah, you think a lot of, not saying bandwagon fans, but people who get excited easily are looking at them and saying they're fun to watch and they're the real deal. But they're 4-0. But back to what you said, they looked beatable by a Denver team who was stacked on defense, but very, very thin on offense. I mean,
they're running with guys like Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah, so you've got kind of a rough offense, but one thing you texted me during the game, and you said Cortland Sutton looked like the real deal.
He does. He reminds me of Alshon Jeffrey. Literally identical. Alshon Jeffrey is deceptively fast.
Okay.
And Cortland Sutton looked deceptively fast.
And one thing we were looking through the tape and back before the draft, and it was Cortland Sutton looked like the only kind of guy, the type of guy that just runs straight down the field. More I look into it, and the more I really watch, there's 2 types of people who run down the field. There's people who run straight down the field, and then there's people who make that streak route an actual route. There's ways to be deceptively fast when you trick your cornerback and you kind of they do those hesitation steps.
Yeah, those hezzies.
And you can get them beat, and not with speed, but with route running ability. That's something that I really need to go back and look and see how he was doing it, because he played for what was
SMU.
it? SMU, yeah. The Mustangs, aren't they?
Yeah, the Mustangs, who I think in the 80s lost their football team forever. I think there's like a 30 for 30 on it.
Oh, neat. But yeah, he was dominant in college. He looked like Des Bryant.
You got to remember, though, with these small school guys, SMU's a D1 school, but, you know, they're like a lesser-known university.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of offensive play calling is going to be bad. You know, they're not going to have the best offensive
Oh,
coordinators. They're not going to be able to teach these guys the routes. And Cortland Sutton never had to learn how to do anything else because he was bigger and stronger than everybody he faced.
Yeah. Well, why do you change? Why do you fix what's not broken when the guy is giant? He's succeeding with just the easiest thing in the game, and that's just running down the field and catching it over small guys.
Yeah, I mean, but the problem is he wasn't catching it over small guys. He was catching it over, you know, Pro Bowl cornerbacks this game. He looked really good, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed with the entire Denver offense. Case Keenum didn't throw a touchdown, but they didn't need to.
Yeah.
They ran the ball in the goal line, so, I mean, yeah, they should have won, but I'm just saying I don't think this is Case Keenum's fault.
Well, so you're standing on the side that Mahomes has all these options to throw to, and basically that's his reason for success? Or
we knocked Dak for his 2016 season because he had all those weapons. I mean, Dez wasn't elite then. I've been off the Dez elite program, but he was good, and Zeke had one of the best, years of his career, and that offensive line was healthy. So I'm thinking the same thing kind of with Kansas City, because we do see a Dak regression. It seems like
and you got Kareem Hunt, running back, 19 attempts, 121 yards. That's a solid production to get in the backfield. That helps you out as a quarterback.
So they're getting running game. They have all these receivers, the tight ends. They have everything in the world.
Yeah, they've literally got every weapon you can hand the guy. But he made some spectacular plays, some of them overhyped by the general public.
Like the left-handed throw that I'm not super hyped about.
I was impressed by it, but overall but he's a rookie. Doing that type of thing, you saw how Baker performed as a rookie. I'm sorry, he's not a rookie. That's my mistake. But he's playing. He's basically
his rookie season, of playing.
Yeah. So, first full season to take.
To be
over.
honest, though, I think he's gonna have a bad game next week.
Okay. Who are they taking on next week?
The best defense in the land. They're taking on Jacksonville.
That's gonna be a game to watch.
I love Jalen Ramsey. That's my dog.
Oh, what did I read Jalen Ramsey saying about?
He said that I made the Pro Bowl as a corner. Tyreek Hill made the Pro Bowl as a punt returner. This isn't a wide receiver cornerback matchup. This is just a matchup.
Gotcha. And Jalen Ramsey knows knows how to put his money where his mouth is.
Mind you, Tyreek Hill is about a 4.3 speed. Jalen Ramsey ain't no slouch. He's like a 4.4 flat. And he's 6'2", so it's going to be hard to get stuff over the top of him. I think Jalen Ramsey shadows him all day. I think Jacksonville does stuff they don't do.
Matchup to watch.
I'm excited to see it. I think...
What quarterback outplays the other one in this game? Tell me.
Obviously, Pat Mahomes is more talented than Blake Bortles. I think the offense of the Kansas City Chiefs is going to outplay the offense of the Jaguars. But I think the Jacksonville Jaguars scored a defensive touchdown in this game.
Okay. And that's going to be what sets the difference for sure.
Because I think they're going to stop them on a couple fourth downs that I don't think Kansas City can stop. So basically, the thing is, if you can stop Kansas City 2 or 3 times, you can make it a close game and winnable.
Is Fournette coming back next week or this week?
It's up in the air. He's still questionable. I still would take my bet on Yeldon. He's playing good too.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of Yeldon, but with Fournette in that backfield, if they get him back and having a solid defense, you're gonna keep Kansas City's
keep the ball away from Kansas City.
You keep them off the field, and they can't rack up points. They win by scoring a lot of points. You see what happens. You keep them to only 27, and you have a chance to win this football game.
Yeah, that's my only point, is that in September, they seemed unbeatable.
One comparison I just made kind of in my head looking at this, Denver Broncos defense, almost stopped them. Jacksonville's defense is that and above a couple notches. So
yeah, they got the pass rush, and they got the corners, and they got the safeties, and they got the linebackers.
Another overtime game? That'd be a cool one.
I can't say that. I think Jacksonville's going to win it, especially, like you said, if Fournette's back. Honestly,
yeah.
I think it's almost a no contest.
Okay.
The number one offense versus the number one defense. The number one defense, I think, wins like 85% of the time.
Yeah.
So if I'm a gambling man, like I know this isn't a gambling podcast, but if I'm a gambling man, I'd take whatever point spread Jacksonville's getting, and I'd take it.
Yeah. It would be fun to watch. That's about really it I had prepared this week. Do you have any bold predictions down?
No,
How about this? Okay, so you predict Kansas City to lose. They're one of the 2 4-0 teams. How about St. Louis? What do they got going on?
You mean Los Angeles?
That's
It's okay
I'm gonna
because
make that mistake 1,000 times. This season.
That's okay because St. Louis was forgettable, and I mean I don't want another California team to be good. Exit the Warriors.
So do you got St. Louis winning this week?
St. Louis, yeah. They're gonna kill the Seahawks, man. The Seahawks. There's no way that they can block Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. However, I do want to talk about the Rams just for a second. They're not a Super Bowl team. That defense is not good. They're getting lucky. They're doing what Kansas City does. They're outscoring their opponents. I think that they're beatable, and I think if they have to play in cold weather, a.k.a. Philadelphia, they're going to lose.
Okay. Well, another AFC team, right? The Patriots win on Thursday Night Football.
They demolished the Colts. However, they should have. A little fantasy advice here, though. Anybody that didn't play Eric Ebron, I'm sorry, rest in peace. I didn't
my
play
hand
him.
right now, too.
Yep, I didn't play him either. But who would have thought, the Colts would have thrown to their tight end. However, T.Y. Hilton was out, and so was Jack Doyle. So maybe I just overlooked that.
Yeah, that's definitely a bad move by myself. So Patriots back in town, not calling the LA Rams Super Bowl contender, and I think that wraps it up for our show. Make sure this is a doubleheader week. We're pulling out an MLB episode this week. Going to talk about Cleveland's road to maybe making the World Series.
Let's go Windians. Roll
All
Tribe.
Right. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and we're also on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and you name it. Thank you.